For the first few WrestleManias, it goes good mania, bad mania, good mania, bad mania. And this was a bad mania. After all, 16 matches over the course of a 4-hour show is enough to make your f***ing head spin, but at least WWE stuck the landing with the finish. Fans around the world got to see the WrestleMania tournament for the vacant WWF Championship end with the coronation of Macho Man Randy Savage, another cherished entry in the library of iconic Mania moments. It's also a night rich with odd facts and stats. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about WrestleMania 4. Number 10, Trump Plaza was not Trump Plaza. You'll hear the name of the 45th president of the United States throughout WrestleManias 4 and 5, and the Donald popped up in the front row of both. Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura made copious reference to the events taking place at Trump Plaza, but that's a wee bit untrue. Trump Plaza was the name of a hotel/casino on the Atlantic City boardwalk that opened in 1984, while the event itself took place at Boardwalk Hall. Why was the show billed as being from Trump Plaza? Because Vince McMahon's old friend Donald Trump sponsored both Manias 4 and 5, getting the naming rights in the trade. Number 9, the tournament once had very different brackets. On episodes of WWF television shortly after the tournament was announced, the company revealed the brackets for the 14-man showcase. Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant were still given the dual buy into the quarterfinal match with each other, and every other first-round match was the same as it played out, except the placements were different. In the original version, the Jake Roberts-Rick Rude winner would have faced the Don Morocco-Dino Bravo winner, and the victor of Bam Bam Bigelow vs. One Man Gang would have battled the winner of Ted DiBiase vs. Jim Duggan. Why the switch-arounds? That's because Vince had to craft a new ending to the tournament. More on that story a little bit later. Number 8, the OMNI in Atlanta broadcast WrestleMania 4 on closed circuit. Gosh, Vince McMahon liked to with the NWA. It was his favorite thing to do other than wear chains and eat metal bars. He famously sabotaged Starrcade by creating and running Survivor Series against it. Then he trumped Crockett's second pay-per-view Bunkhouse Stampede by opposing it with the infinitely cooler Royal Rumble on cable TV, no less. Fighting fire with fire, Crockett debuted his Clash of the Champions specials on TBS by booking world champion Ric Flair versus the up-and-coming Sting directly against WrestleMania 4 on March 27, 1988. Vince went, "You wanna dance? We'll dance, cowboy," and booked a closed-circuit airing of WrestleMania 4 at the Atlanta's OMNI Coliseum, otherwise known as the NWA's home venue. The equivalent would be if Crockett booked a closed-circuit showing of Starrcade at Madison Square Garden. It was a dick move. Number 7, Greg Valentine became the first man to wrestle for 3 different belts at WrestleMania. At WrestleMania 1, Greg Valentine defended his Intercontinental Gold in the undercard against the Junkyard Dog. A year later, he and Brutus Beefcake lost the Tag Team Championships in a classic to the British Bulldogs. Finally, as one of the tournament entrants in 1988, Valentine was technically competing for the WWF Championship, even if he didn't make it to the finals. It counts, suck my dick. The trifecta of competing for the World, Intercontinental, and Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania has only been duplicated by Bret Hart, Daniel Bryan, JBL, Chris Benoit, The Miz, and Hulk Hogan. But Valentine got there first. Number 6, one of Trump's guests was used against him in his presidential campaign. A week before winning the election that made him President of the United States, Donald Trump endured another negative news story, this one involving his presence at WrestleMania 4. A news report contradicted a claim that Trump had made saying he didn't know a reputed mob-linked gambler named Robert Labuti. This was disputed in November 2016 when news agencies ran video of WrestleMania 4 when Trump was seen in the front row next to Labuti, particularly during game show hostess Vanna White's entrance prior to the main event. Labuti had reported ties with mob boss John Gotti, and Labuti's daughter Edith claimed that she and her father were present that night as guests of Trump. Also, the name Labuti is just... gosh, that's funny. But still, the president lied, I guess. Number 5, Jake Roberts frightened Trump's first wife with Damien. Still on Trump? Good stuff. At the time of the show, Trump was still in his first marriage to Czech model Ivana, who can be clearly seen in the front row next to her tycoon husband. After Roberts and Rick Rude battled to a draw, Roberts tried to accost Rude and Bobby Heenan with Damien. At ringside, he ended up swiping Ivana across the upper body with his snake, causing her to apparently fall back in her chair. Roberts emphasized that it wasn't intentional, but Heenan, in his book, hinted that it was very much otherwise, saying Roberts was pissed off that Ivana wasn't watching the show at all. Donald Trump himself found the whole incident amusing, but Heenan claims that Ivana told her bodyguard, "You should have shot the snake." Number 4, sensational Sherri was Peggy Sue. This one's a bit more well known, but it's still really weird. To flesh out the honky-tonk man's gimmick of an Elvis wannabe even more, WWF took sensational Sherri, the women's champion mind you, and presented her as his girlfriend, Peggy Sue. Sherri dressed in a blonde wig and dark sunglasses and was at ringside for Honky's match at WrestleMania 4. The women's division of the time was so dead that playing Peggy Sue was virtually the best way to get her on TV, but imagine if Charlotte or Bayley wore a wig and sunglasses that hid who they were and tried to pass themselves off as Kevin Owens' manager Laura McMichaels or something. It's just really weird. Number 3, Jim Korderas was legitimately knocked out during the IC title match. Longtime WWE official turned wrestling analyst Jim Korderas was the referee in Honky Tonk Man's IC title defense against Brutus Beefcake. During the finish, once Beefcake snared Honky with a sleeper hold, Korderas was supposed to be knocked out by Jimmy Hart, and to achieve the required bump, Hart jumped to the apron and bonked Korderas with his megaphone. The then 26-year-old official fell forward but ended up spiking his chin into the mat, knocking himself dead away. Number 2, Demolition's historic tag team title reign began here. Demolition found themselves relevant in WWE canon once more this past December when the New Day axed and smashed their long-standing record for longest tag team championship reign in company history. That reign of more than 16 months began at WrestleMania 4 when the Road Warrior cosplayers defeated Rick Martel and Tino Santana to capture the belt. They wouldn't drop the straps until the following July, and who was the team that would dethrone Demolition? That would be the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, who weren't even with WWF at the time of WrestleMania 4. In fact, that very night, Anderson and Blanchard were on NWA's Clash of the Champions, losing the NWA tag straps to Lex Luger and Barry Windham. The more you know. And number 1, Ted DiBiase was originally booked to win the tournament. Shock of shocks, Savage's big night was originally not meant to be. Stories have made the rounds that the $1 Million Man was supposed to escape Atlantic City with the gold. Based on the original brackets, the quarters would have been Hulk Andre, Rude Morocco, Savage Valentine, and Gang DiBiase. Hulk would have won but barely survived against Andre, taking a heavy toll on him. Rude would have beaten Morocco, Savage would have toppled Valentine, and DiBiase would have paid Gang to fake an injury and forfeit their match. In the semis, an exhausted Hogan would outlast Rude, and DiBiase would use chicanery to beat Savage. The final would have been DiBiase beating Hogan by countout with Andre's help to win the belt, and Hogan would have chased DiBiase for the gold throughout the summer. So what happened? The Honky Tonk Man refused to drop the Intercontinental title to Savage in February, and WWF apparently didn't have the means to force him to do so, so they reconfigured the tournament brackets to have Savage beat DiBiase in the finals to have at least one babyface champion. There was apparently major heat for some time between Honky and DiBiase over this, and the $1 Million belt was created as something of a consolation prize for DiBiase as a result. I think that's interesting. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon. We're never going to stop doing magazines called wrestling. It's time for issue 4, the first magazine of 2017. To celebrate, we're looking back on the wrestling year that was, including end-of-year awards for best and worst matches of 2016, best and worst wrestlers of 2016, best and worst feuds, and many more. Also, a gigantic career retrospective on AJ Styles, Dixie Carter's crimes against wrestling, and how WWE should have booked the road to WrestleMania 2016, written by this sexual Catherine Wheel. As ever, the magazine is available now to order at shop.whatculture.com. For the love of God, buy it.